as we celebrate 71 years of our Constitution, a landmark day on our national calendar. Indian Constitution, as many of you know, is more than just an article and schedules. It represents our hopes and aspirations, an ideal of the society that we are striving to be. In order to commemorate the 71 years of our Constitution in a befitting manner, Department of Political Science, in collaboration with IQAC of St. Thomas College, is organizing a webinar on right to health and access to medicines in India. So in order to deliver this topic, we have very distinguished guest among us, Dr. Reggie K. Joseph. He is an associate professor at the Institute for Studies in Industry Development, New Delhi. He specializes in the area of international trade and investment and innovation, patents, and Indian pharmaceutical industry. So, sir, we want to sincerely thank you for honoring our invitation, and I extend you a very warm welcome to this webinar. And we are honored this morning with the presence of our dear principal, Dr. K.L. Joy. I'm happy to welcome you, sir, to today's webinar. Welcome, sir. Next, I would like to welcome my colleague, Mr. Emmanuel Thomas from Department of Economics. He'll be chairing today's session, so hearty welcome, sir. Finally, I'd like to welcome my colleagues and dear participants to this event, and I believe that observation of these days will bring greater visibility to the prominence of these days in our daily life. Once again, I'll welcome you all to this webinar. Thank you, one and all. Now, I want to call Dr. K.L. Joy, a principal, for the presidential address.
A very warm good morning to all. Respected resource person, Dr. Reggie K. Joseph, Associate Professor, ISID, New Delhi, Vice Principals, Moderator, Sri Emmanuel Thomas, IQC Coordinator, Dr. Father Anil George Conkoth, Convener and Head of the Department of Political Science, Dr. Blessy Paul, Head of the Department of Economics, Dr. Sabu PJ, faculty members, research scholars, and dear students. Constitution Day, Samvidhan Divas, also known as National Law Day, is celebrated in India on 26 November every year to commemorate the adoption of the Constitution of India. On 26 November 1949, the Constituent Assembly of India adopted the Constitution of India, and it came into effect on 26 January 1950. The observation is designed to make our country aware of the significance of our Constitution, orienting to justice, liberty, equality, and fraternity. As we know, November 26 had been observed as the Law Day, and in 2015, Prime Minister Sri Narendra Modi renamed it Constitution Day. The Constitution of India is the supreme law of India. The document lays down the framework demarcating fundamental political code, structure, procedures, powers, and duties of government institutions, and set out fundamental rights, directive principles, and the duties of citizens. It is the longest written constitution of any country on earth. B.R. Ambedkar, chairman of the drafting committee, is widely considered to be its chief architect. It imparts constitutional supremacy with the declaration in its preamble. Parliament cannot override the Constitution. India celebrates its Constitution on 26 January as Republic Day. It took a long time for the framing of the Constitution, since the formation of the Constituent Assembly on 6 December 1946 up to 26 January 1950. It is highly appreciated that the Department of Political Science of our college, with IQC, celebrates the Constitution Day with a webinar to convey the splendor and significance of our Constitution. As the principal, I am happy and proud to congratulate the Department of Political Science and the IQAC in a very special way. We are happy to have the online presence of Dr. G.K. Joseph, Associate Professor from ISID, New Delhi, to guide us in our endeavor to comprehend significant aspect of health and access of medicines as constitutional. I thank him wholeheartedly on behalf of our community. I wish everyone related to this endeavor all the best and hope the younger generation gets enthusiasm in the national spirit resulting positively from such observations. Wishing everyone all the best. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Now I invite Mr. Emmanuel Thomas, Department of Economics, to chair the session.
Emmanuel, I think your mic is mute. Emmanuel, I can't hear you. Hello, I can't hear.
So 1 minute, he'll join.
Am I audible now?
Yeah. Now I can hear you.
Okay, sorry, there was some connection problems. So thank you, Blessy ma'am, and I would like to thank the principal, head of the Department of Political Science, Blessy ma'am, and IQAC and its director, Reverend Dr. Anil Konkoth, for making me a part of this program. Now, ever since we started observing the Constitution Day in India, I think we are getting ever more number of reasons to look carefully at the developments on that front. And those issues, there are so many issues on a daily basis around the Constitution of India which we need to discuss. From the pronouncement of the Supreme Court on Article 32 to the issues related to Citizenship Act, the issues are varied and too many. But our discussion today is not on those issues, but on another issue which is of huge importance for the Indian society and India as a nation, that is health and public health. Many issues related to public health and health as such has been discussed in India for a very long time. They included access to health, quality of health care, public health expenditure, out-of-pocket expenditure on healthcare, and of course, many indicators related to health. And also, in the context of sustainable development goals, we have been discussing a lot about health sector in our country. And while all those issues remain, we are hit by a pandemic, and now we have a huge challenge before us of tiding over this issue, of facing this issue of this posed by COVID-19 pandemic. And also there comes the issue of access to medicine and how the world is going to vaccinate its populace, and how a developing or emerging economy like India is going to do it. All these are going to be big challenges, and all these are going to be discussed in the public realm in a big way in coming days. So it is in this context, I think we are looking forward to listen to an expert in this area, Dr. Reggie K. Joseph. I'm very happy and honored to have Dr. Reggie K. Joseph in St. Thomas in the platform of St. Thomas College, Thrissur. Blessy has already introduced him, but I should add a few more lines. He is a researcher par excellence, I should say, who is at the frontier of the areas in which he is working, especially pharma sector, trade, WTO, and he is specializing or focusing more on policy research. A committed researcher and a wonderful teacher, I should say. And he was with the Central University of Gujarat for a long time. Then he was with the RIS, Research Information System for Developing Nations, which is a prominent think tank based in New Delhi. And now currently he is with the Institute for Studies in Industrial Development as an associate professor. And I should also tell you that he is a PhD from JNU and his supervisor was a celebrity economist, I should say, Professor Jaydeep Ghosh. So we are very lucky to have him with us today, and he writes regularly in newspapers in India and abroad. He is widely published. He has published a book on pharma sector, published by Routledge. These are all wonderful achievements, and that distinguishes him from ordinary scholars. And I request all the students who are participating in this program to probably check for his articles, his pieces which he writes regularly in newspapers in India, etc. He writes regularly in the Mint, in Financial Express, in the Hindu and Indian Express. So today we have got a wonderful scholar, expert to tell us about this issue which we are discussing today. So let me move on to this this program. So, and I also request all the participants to join me to welcome Dr. Reggie to this program. And I would like to welcome all the participants also to this program. We have Dr. Reggie. I think majority of the participants are students, I guess, and there are teachers from colleges and universities and research scholars. So that is the group is like that. So let me move on to this program. I think Dr. Reggie will speak for 20-25 minutes, and after that we can have a discussion. We will open the floor for questions and we can have a discussion. So I think now we can start the program. So Dr. Reggie, now the floor is yours.
Thank you, Emmanuel. Respected Principal, Dr. Joy, Emmanuel, Blessy, faculty of the college, and my friends. Thank you very much for inviting me for this lecture. First of all, let me wish you all the greetings of 71st anniversary of the adoption of the Constitution. We are the largest democracy in the world, and our constitution is the longest one. It is about 30 times the size of US Constitution. Our democracy has been able to withstand all the storms and waves only because we have a well-framed constitution. The topic that we are going to discuss today, right to health and access to medicines, is very contextual to the situation that we are passing through. All of us are passing through the worst pandemic that we may ever have seen in our lives. So I have a presentation. I will just upload that PPT. Is that uploaded, Emmanuel?
Yes, sir.
I think it's not yet uploaded, no? Let me try once again.
Yes, sir, it is uploaded.
Okay, but now I'm not able to see.
I can see the.
I will try once again.
Yes.
Uploading. I think it's uploaded. Can you see the PPT now?
Yes, sir.
Emmanuel?
So it's taking time, maybe due to low connectivity. It's okay, sir. It's uploading now.
Yeah.
Sir,
Yeah, we can see.
they are able.
Can you see it now?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, if we go through the Constitution, it doesn't explicitly guarantee. So we cannot see the term right to health mentioned in the Constitution. But there are some references in the Constitution to public health and the role that the state should play in ensuring provisions for healthcare. So we have directive principles of state policy in part 4. There are some articles like Article 42, Article 47, which refer to health and health care. Similarly, the Constitution is also providing for municipalities and panchayats, the local bodies, to make provisions for health care. So that we can see in Article 243G and Schedule 11. So although there is no direct reference to right to health, there are many provisions which indicate that the state has an obligation to provide for public health and health care. And the courts have played a major role in establishing the right to health in India. Some provisions of the Constitution have been interpreted by the court to imply that there is a right to health. The one provision that has been widely interpreted is Article 21, which is the protection of life and personal liberty. In the case Bandhuva Mukti Morcha versus Union of India in 1984, the Supreme Court ruled, the court expanded the scope of Article 21 and ruled that right to health is integral part of right to life. This case was with regard to the children below the age of 14 working in the carpet industry in the Uttar Pradesh. The court ruled that children, if they work full time in hazardous industries and factories, it will adversely affect their right to education and health. And there have been many cases since then which have referred to right to life and right to health. So now we know that smoking in public place is not allowed. So this rule came from a case that was filed in Supreme Court by Murali Diora. So there are many cases, many instances where court referred to this Article 21 to establish that there is a right to health. And very recently, a high-level group on the health sector constituted under the 15th Finance Commission has recommended that a right to health be declared as a fundamental right. If this recommendation is accepted, we will see a sweeping changes in the manner in which healthcare services are provided in the country. There is something has happened with the PPT. Manuel?
Sir, can you share PPT once again?
Something is happening.
Yeah, I can see the PowerPoint.
But it has disappeared from my screen.
Is it? Okay. Can you unpresent and then present again? Please check.
So now is it visible? Is the PPT visible now?
Yeah. Okay.
Hello? Yeah. So now the courts have also played an important role in establishing that access to medicine is also essential for realizing the right to health. The price of drugs has been regulated in India since 1962. However, over the years, the number of drugs under price control has declined steadily. It has declined from 347 in 1978 to 74 in 1995. In 2002, the government proposed a new policy which, if implemented, would have reduced the number of drugs under price control to about 20 to 25 medicines. Then some civil society groups filed a public interest litigation in Karnataka High Court, and court stayed the implementation of the policy, ruling that the policy goes against Articles 14 and 21 of the Constitution. 14 is right to equality and 21 is right to life. The court said this policy goes against right to life and it cannot be implemented. Then the union government filed an appeal in the Supreme Court. Supreme Court vacated the stay order of Karnataka High Court, but instructed the union government that all essential medicines should fall under the purview of drug price control system. As per the direction of the court, the union government later prepared a national list of essential medicines, NLEM, in 2011, which consisted of 348 essential medicines that are required by the healthcare sector. What do we mean by access to medicines? When we say access to medicines, it implies two things. One, medicines should be physically available, and second, it should be available at an affordable price. If you are living in Thrissur, the medicines should be physically available in your area at a price that is affordable to you. That is the concept of access to medicines. What is the situation of physical availability of medicines in India? So, most of us would know that India has a very vibrant pharmaceutical industry. This industry is third largest globally in terms of the volume of production and 14th largest in terms of value of production. And it accounts for 3.5% of medicines exported globally. There are more than 3,000 companies producing medicines and more than 8 lakh chemist shops selling those medicines in India. And we have online pharmacies as well. So the distribution, the physical availability of medicines is not an issue in India. And we have 7 NIPERs, National Institute of Pharmaceutical Education and Research, to cater to the human resource requirements of this industry. So what I'm saying is that we have an ecosystem that ensures that physical availability of medicine is there. Now, what is the significance of the price of medicines or cost of medicines? When we fall ill, we take treatment. Then we meet various kinds of expenditures, like we have to pay for consultation, we have to pay for this diagnosis, and we have to pay for buying medicines. Sometimes some of these expenses are met by insurance companies. Sometimes, especially if we go to government hospital, some of the expenditure is borne by the state, and the rest of the expenditure we pay from our pocket. Globally, if we see the trends in out-of-pocket expenditure, how much we are paying from our own pocket, we can see that in developed countries, so in this slide, those countries listed in blue color, it's developed countries. So we can see that the share of out-of-pocket expenditure in total healthcare expenditure is very low in developed countries. Japan 14, some countries 13, 11, 10, and in some cases less than 10. So it's very small share. But if we come to developing countries, that is not the case. For example, Cambodia, 74% of the healthcare expenditure is met by individuals themselves. In India, it is 62%. So we can say that roughly 2/3 of the healthcare expenditure in India is met by individuals from their own savings. So in the previous slide, we saw that 2/3 of healthcare expenditure is out-of-pocket expenditure in India. Now, what is the contribution of medicines in that? We can, in rural areas, 68% of the expenditure on healthcare is on medicines alone. And in urban areas, it is 64%. So medicines is the single largest component in the healthcare expenditure in India. So now, what role does patents play in influencing access to medicines? Hope you are all somewhat familiar about this patent system. Do we need a patent system? Yes, we need, because it provides a mechanism for incentivizing innovations. What is innovation? It is the process of translation of scientific knowledge into commercial products. This requires a lot of efforts and financial resources. If I innovate something and if somebody else copy it, then I will have no incentive to invest my resources for innovating. So this patent system addresses this issue of free riding. It grants the innovator some monopoly rights for a limited period of time, 20 years. Others are prevented from making, using, importing, and selling the patented innovation without the consent of the patent holder. So this is the role played by patent system in innovations. If we have patents in pharmaceutical sector, we expect that new and better medicines will be developed. This is one side of the patent system. On the other side, the patent monopoly can adversely affect access to medicines and right to health. How? One, the patent monopoly can decide whether to supply or not, because there is no competition. Only one producer is supplying, the patent holder. It can decide whether to supply or not. How? So the physical availability can be influenced by the monopoly. Secondly, the prices. As there is no competition, the patent monopoly may decide any price which may be exorbitantly high for a common people to afford. So these are the challenges that emerge from patent system in terms of realization of right to health and access to medicines. I will give you a few examples of how the patent system can impact right to health and access to medicines. Nexavar is an anti-cancer drug patented by Bayer in India. A month's treatment would cost about 2.8 lakhs rupees. I am talking about a situation in 2011. The company Bayer supplied this drug only in selected locations, not all parts of India, selected locations. And its supply was meeting only 1% of the total requirements in India. See how the physical availability is impacted because of patent monopoly. Another example, Merck's medicine, pembrolizumab, which is used for treating skin cancer. Its cost is more than $10,000 per month. In terms of rupees, it's more than 7 lakhs per month. imagine how many of us would be able to afford this medicine. And a study conducted by Adia Cancer Institute shows that only 36%, one third of the 1.1 million cancer patients receive treatments in India. This study did not explore why the others are not getting treatment. But one possible reason could be the exorbitant price of cancer medicines. So these are some examples to show how patents can adversely affect right to health. But Government of India has adopted a few policy measures to facilitate access to medicines. So we have drug price control policy that is known as drug price control order. So now, as I said earlier, so we have National List of Essential Medicines, NLEM. All drugs which fall in that list will be subjected to price regulation. How the prices are regulated? For every drug, top selling 3 brands would be taken and the average price would be considered as the ceiling price. Paracetamol is a drug. There are different brands. Crocin is one brand. Similarly, top selling 3 brands would be taken and average price would be used as a ceiling price. No company will be able to beyond that ceiling price. Once the price is sealed, the companies are allowed to change price to accommodate inflation and any change in the cost of inputs. Other medicines which are not part of NLEM are allowed an increase up to 10% annually. And some patented medicines are part of NLEM, if only a few. But how the prices of those patented medicines are fixed, we do not have much information because a lot of correspondence is taking place between innovator, the patent holder, and the price regulating authority, National Pharmaceutical Pricing Authority. And we do not have much information about those correspondences in public. One issue could be, in normal case, the price of top 3 brands would be taken. Since in this case, since these are patented medicines, there won't be any competing product available. There won't be any other brands available. So then how the prices are fixed, we do not have much information, unfortunately. And last year, the government amended the drug price control order and exempted patented medicines from price control for a period of 5 years. So now the case is that even if a patented medicine falls in the NLEM, they cannot be subjected to price control for a period of 5 years. So these policies will have major adverse implications in terms of price of medicines. Another important policy initiative is the Jan Aushadhi scheme, Pradhan Mantri Bharatiya Jan Aushadhi Pariyojana. You may have seen Jan Aushadhi stores in some places. Only generic medicines are sold in such stores. Generic medicines means off-patent medicines, medicines which are not patented. There are more than 6,000 such stores operating in our country. They're established in 696 districts in our country, and they sell more than 1,000 medicines and more than 200 surgical and consumable items. And very importantly, you should note that medicine supplied in such stores are cheaper by 50 to 90% as compared to the market price. But one major issue is, which the studies point out, is the medicines are available on time. So availability of medicines is one major issue facing the stores. Otherwise, it is a wonderful scheme. So I already mentioned that the patent monopoly can have adversely impact access to medicines in terms of physical availability and prices. In such situations, the WTO TRIPS agreement. This agreement provides the minimum standard of patent protection globally. India is a party to this treaty, so we have to comply with the provisions of this agreement. This agreement is providing some flexibilities for countries to address such situations. One such scenario is compulsory licensing. If a patent holder is not making available a medicine or set the price very high, the government in a country can issue compulsory license. That means it can ask a third company to produce and supply that drug at a much lower price. This instrument was used in India once, only one, in the case of Nexavar. After issuing the compulsory license, the price came down from 2.8 lakhs to 8,600 rupees. But we have used this provision only once. The TRIPS agreement, the WTO ministerial meet. So in early 2000s, there was a lot of confusion whether countries can use compulsory licensing to meet the public health emergencies. So in such a case, such a situation, the WTO ministerial meeting of 2001, which was held at Doha, clarified that the TRIPS agreement does not and should not prevent members from taking measures to protect public health. And very importantly, this declaration affirmed that the TRIPS agreement can and should not be interpreted and implemented in a manner supportive of WTO members' right to protect public health, and in particular to promote access to medicines for all. So the Doha Declaration very clearly stated that countries have the flexibility, the freedom to use compulsory licensing provisions to meet public health requirements, especially ensuring access to medicines for all. The other important policy flexibility, that is in terms of setting the patentability criteria. The TRIPS agreement is only saying that all innovations which are new, involve an inventive step, and are capable of industrial application be given patents. But it doesn't define what is new, what is inventive step. The countries can define. When India amended its Patents Act, it inserted a section 3D, which requires that innovations in pharmaceutical sector to be eligible for getting patents should prove improvement in therapeutic efficacy as compared to existing products. What is happening is that the innovators, they they incorporate minor innovations and they get another patent on the same product. From the innovator's point of view, there is some innovation, but that doesn't add any benefit to the consumer. For a patient, it will not result in any improvement in the therapeutic efficacy. So here, the Section 3D of India's Patents Act is saying that, yes, such innovations can be patented, but only if it can prove an improvement in the therapeutic efficacy, or they should be able to prove that the patients who consume the medicines will benefit from the patented drug. Since we have a very stringent provision, stringent patentability criteria in the pharmaceutical sector, many of the patent applications were rejected because they did not meet this criteria, the criteria set by Section 3D. As a result, effectively, the number of patented drugs have got reduced. I don't know what happened. Again, the PPT has disappeared.
Yeah, Raji, it is not visible now. Can you start presenting again?
I'm just uploading it again.
It was going smoothly now. Yeah, it is visible now. The first slide.
Yeah, let me go to that particular slide.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So what I was saying that since we have this provision, effectively the number of patented drugs, it has come down. So that means there is more space for generic companies, those companies which produce generic drugs. Although the TRIPS agreement is giving us these kinds of flexibilities in terms of addressing the public health requirements, it's automatically managing the PPT.
It's autopilot, it seems. Oh, somebody is moving. Yeah. I think I can also move it.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now it's the right one, right?
Yeah.
Or yeah.
No, this is the right one.
Yes, I think somebody moved it forward. I think it's a totally liberal system.
Again, it is moving. I don't. Yeah.
No, now it's 13. Slide 13.
Yeah. So, although we have these flexibilities and India has the right to exercise those policy flexibilities given by the TRIPS agreement, we face a number of challenges in terms of really implementing them. One is the tremendous pressure that we face from Western countries, especially United States, over policies aiming at ensuring access to medicines. For them, the price control policies, the compulsory licensing, and Section 3D are seen as hindrance to market access of pharmaceutical firms from their countries. My God, it's
again it's gone.
Shall I go ahead without the PPT?
Yeah. Go ahead, Vijay. Go ahead. No need to share.
Yeah. So now you may be aware that India and US are negotiating a free trade agreement, and US has been demanding that India should amend the Patents Act to remove Section 3D, and India should do away with the price control policies. So that is the demand of US. But from within, the patient groups and civil society groups And some of the industry associations, they say that accepting the demands of US will lead to the destruction of Indian pharma industry. So there are various pulls and pushes in terms of adopting appropriate policies. And we have a few pharmaceutical industry associations in India. One is OPPI, Organization of Pharmaceutical Producers of India. This is basically an association of multinational pharmaceutical companies, so which echo the position that the US government is taking. And we have some other industry associations like IPA, Indian Pharmaceutical Association, and IDMA, Indian Drug Manufacturers Association. They say that the government should do away with the price control policy. What they say is that we have more than 3,000 companies producing and supplying medicines. So it's a very highly competitive market. The market forces will determine the price, and the government should not intervene in the price fixing. But the fact is that although there are more than 3,000 pharmaceutical companies, the market is not really competitive. In a competitive market, what do you expect? There are many sellers and there are many buyers, and demand and supply would fix the price. So the same product, so if we the same product which has same quality and same effect, we will buy the lowest priced brand. In a competitive market, the lowest priced brand of a product would be the market leader. But here in the pharmaceuticals market, that is not the situation. In many therapeutic areas, the price leader is also the market leader. That we don't expect in a competitive market. In pharma market, the problem is that the decision maker and payer are different. Normally, when we buy something, we take the decision and we make the payment. But in pharma market, the decision is made by the doctor, but the payment is made by the patient. So there is a disconnect between the source of decision making and the source of payment. So that is why the normal market forces do not play in pharmaceutical market, and I feel the government should continue to play an important role in regulating prices of essential medicines. So these are the major arguments that I have put forward. I will sum it up now. The Constitution of India does not explicitly guarantee the right to health. However, various provisions in the Constitution have been interpreted to imply a right to health. Article 21 and Directive Principles of State Policy of the Constitution have been interpreted to include the right to health. Availability of medicines at affordable prices is integral to right to health. Cost of medicines is the single largest component of healthcare expenses in India. Government of India has adopted various policy measures to ensure access to medicines, such as regulation of prices of essential medicines and use of flexibilities provided in the TRIPS agreement. Our policymakers face tremendous pressure externally and internally in enforcing certain policies aimed at fulfilling the obligations of the state in protecting people's right to health. Thank you.
Wonderful, Raji. Wonderful presentation. Thank you very much. So, as Dr. Reggie has pointed, not only in fundamental duties in fundamental directive principles, it is stated in fundamental rights as well about provisions which help in providing public health and making it accessible to everyone. But as former President Dr. K.R. Narayanan said, a constitution is only as good as the people who run it. So we are all responsible, I feel, to make things happen out of. And it was very an enlightening presentation, and especially the slide on that out-of-pocket expenditure. It was really revealing in the case of developing countries how much the people are paying out of their pocket, unlike in developed countries. And I think, Dr. Reggie, in developed countries, the uh, the availability and the spread of insurance is one factor which is reducing that out of pocket expenditure. So in India also, I think we had been uh, experimenting with that kind of an approach. And not to, I don't think we have been that successful so far. So that could be one reason. And before opening up the floor for discussion, let me ask you a current question based on this issue. What do you think about the accessibility, affordability, and availability of vaccines for the Indian population as soon as it arrives in India? I think we are looking forward to the AstraZeneca Oxford vaccine, right? So, of course, we have this Serum Institute, which is the biggest manufacturer of vaccines in India. So, will India be able to take advantage of these factors and provide vaccination to all its population? And what is the time frame which you have in your mind for getting that access once it is available?
Emmanuel, actually, what I feel is that the vaccine manufacturers and it requires the entire logistics to work together. So we need that glass containers to fill the vaccine. Then we require appropriate number of syringes, needles. Okay, so as we have a very vibrant vaccine ecosystem, the companies have been expecting that the demand would come from major pharmaceutical companies for these logistical items. So they have been preparing themselves. So I think India will be able to gradually and steadily produce the logistics required for the vaccine supply. So that is one thing. So all of a sudden it cannot be done, but India is prepared to do that in a phased manner. The other thing is that this AstraZeneca, it is collaborating with the Serum Institute. Then the Sputnik vaccine, Russian vaccine, they're collaborating with Dr. Reddy's. And we have our own 2 more vaccine candidates, which are in phase 3 and phase 2 trials. Okay. So I think next 3 to 6 months time, we will see most likely a few more indigenous candidates clearing all the clinical trial phases. So my assessment is that by mid next year, 2021, we will have a better picture in terms of how many vaccines are available, which are more safe, more effective. See, although now companies claim that our vaccine is 95% effective, 90% effective, it's their claim. No independent agency has analyzed their claims. It will take some more time. What I feel is that in the first half of next year, we will have a better picture in terms of which is the appropriate vaccine for us.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. So then it may take 1 or 1.5 years more for universal vaccination.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Reggie. Now I will open the floor for discussion. If any of the participants have a question, they can unmute and you can show your video as well, and you can raise questions, seek clarifications, or make a comment. Okay. Now the floor is open.
Sir, I do have a question. Am I audible?
Yeah, I can hear
You're
you.
audible. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you said about the TRIPS agreement. So therefore, I don't know. I have read it somewhere in one article that it signaled a fundamental change called intellectual property. So which basically gives us the company the patent rights of at least 20 years, and they have the monopoly to produce those goods. I mean, sorry, the medicines. So therefore, if they have the patent right for so many years, that means they're in a monopoly and they can fluctuate the prices according to their own profits. So like you said, sir, DPCO and NLEM, those are price regulationary. So can they control them? Like what is, like, my question, does it make sense?
Yeah, yes. See, the TRIPS agreement is saying that nobody else should be allowed to use, sell, import. Okay. The TRIPS agreement is not saying that prices should not be controlled. Okay, so legally speaking, countries can control the price of patented medicines as well. But the problem is that we are living in a globalized scenario. Most of these new medicines are invented by MNCs in Western countries. Okay. And the moment we try to regulate the price of patented medicines, or if we use instruments like compulsory licenses, there will be a lot of pressure from Western countries.
Okay.
So there will be pressure from governments. Then they will say that the intellectual property regime in India is not good, so we will not invest there. So all kinds of arguments and pressures will come. So that is one challenge the government is facing. But legally speaking, nothing prevents the government from controlling the price of patented medicines.
Okay, so you're saying that the intellectual property and affordable rights, like, they go hand in hand, which is a good thing because it brings about innovation, and the controlled prices will be there in the economy.
Ideally, but what happens is that in the case of patented medicines, the control doesn't come. The patent monopoly fixes the
Right.
price, and in most cases, it's exorbitantly high. We cannot even think of buying 1 month's medicine.
Right. Okay. Okay. That's it. Thank you.
So more questions. You can introduce yourself also before. Just tell us who you are, and then you can ask
Hello.
the question. That will be nice. Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, my name is Vin Bosco Tomi, and I'm a student of BA Economics in St. Thomas. And your presentation was really wonderful, sir. Thank you for the presentation. Am I audible in the first place?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So my question is, we spoke about the availability of medicine in India and its production. So you were showing slides which stated that India accounted for 3.5% of the global production. We have 3,000 firms. We have 8.5 lakh chemist shops in India, and therefore it's actually production is actually very sufficient for the nation. But since you told the percentage that is 3.5% of the global production, India has a population of 17.5% of the global population. So would this percentage of production, global share, would it be enough for the Indians alone, when, especially when there's a health emergency? And not to say that 3.5 out of the 3.5 percentage, obviously a portion of it would be dedicated for the exports alone. So would it be enough, the 3.5 of the global? production?
No,
Yeah.
I think you got my point wrong. What I said was that India is exporting 3.5% of the
Oh, okay.
total globally exported medicines. That is
Okay,
only
okay.
in terms of exports, not in terms of production.
Oh, okay, fine. Maybe it's
Production, we are the third largest in the world in
okay,
terms
okay.
of volume of production.
All right, fine. Maybe it's
Yeah.
there was some connectivity issues, so I couldn't
Ah,
hear it properly. Okay.
yeah,
Anyway, sorry.
yeah. Okay.
Another question is actually regarding the pricing regulations. We mentioned that some of the medicines can be increased. The prices can be increased by 10% every year. But looking at the past 10 years, the inflation rate is actually at an average of 6.07%. So the increasing price every year allowed is actually almost twice the inflation rate, the average inflation rate. So would this be a good policy decision regarding the prices?
See, there are two categories of medicines. One is essential medicines, and the other is non-essential medicines. Essential medicines come under the NLEM, National List of Essential Medicines. Okay, so in that case, the companies are allowed to increase price depending on the inflation, and they can also increase price or change price if there is a change in the cost of inputs.
All
That is,
right.
this is with regard to the essential medicines. The other category of medicines, they are free to increase up to 10% every year. Okay, so this is, is this part clear?
Yeah, it's clear. It's clear.
Okay, okay. So what is your next part of your question?
But even it's medicines, right? So it's there are essential medicines, and there might be some medicines which might not be as essential as the other ones, but
Hmm.
still, medicines are a vital part for it's really an essential commodity for every human being because
Ah.
it's directly related to health. So is it wise to allow companies to increase, let it be very essential or not, but it's medicines, and is it wise to let them increase 10% a year in the price when the average inflation rate is actually 6.07%?
See, if if we talk to the companies, so they would say that, see, we have to make profits. We are not for charity. So they are saying that, okay, you are fixing, you have sealed the price of essential medicines. Okay, that is fine. At least in the case of non-essential medicines, allow us to make some profit.
Okay, fine.
Okay, okay. So um, if we take the entire pharmaceutical market, the essential medicines, they constitute about 18% of the total market. So the remaining 80% or it is left to them. The problem is that if the entire segment is tightly regulated, then many companies may exit from this sector.
Okay, fine.
Exactly.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Any more questions?
Sir, am I audible?
Yes,
Yeah,
you are.
yeah.
I'm sorry, sir. I'm not able to turn on the video because it's not a very comfortable
Yeah, yeah.
space.
Problem, no
No
problem.
So
problem.
it was
You can introduce
that was a
yourself.
great session, sir. My name is Shruti, and I'm from the final year Economics and Political Science Department. Before
Okay.
I go on with the question, I'd like to thank Blessy ma'am and Emmanuel sir for conducting such a session. It was a very informative and great session. Thank you for coming here, sir, Mr. Reggie, sir.
Thank you.
So
Thank you for your compliment.
you're welcome, sir. So my question is this. The Dalit and Adivasi community in the country is already deprived of the efficient and effective healthcare facilities. And as you said, in India, 62% of the healthcare expenditure is met by the individuals. But these marginalized communities are already economically weak. But on top of that, they are discriminated because of the community they are coming from. And many of the doctors deny services to them. And there is inadequate representation of the Dalit and Adivasi community in the healthcare personnel in India. So today we are talking
not only about the economic issues of accessibility to healthcare medicines, but also the right to health and healthcare medicines in India. So what is your take on these issues, and how are they occurring, and how are they disappearing from the country? Now, that is the question. I hope it makes sense.
Can you once again repeat your question in 2 sentences?
The Dalit Adivasi community in the country are deprived of proper healthcare and facilities, because most of the doctors deny healthcare to them because calling them untouchable, and those kind of issues are still prevalent in the country. So today the topic is not is about the right to health and healthcare medicines in India. So I wanted to know about your take on how these things are still happening, and how much you think that the problem has disappeared from the country. Your take on that.
See, if we look at the fundamental right, the fundamental right to equality, it is clearly saying that no one should be discriminated against based on gender, caste, creed. It's very clear. So just because somebody is belonging to a particular caste or community, there is no way they can be treated separately. This is totally against the spirit of Constitution. And if we go through the international conventions on human rights, they very clearly say that the right to health means it's physical and mental health. The government should do everything possible to ensure the physical and mental well-being of its citizens. So in every respect, Adivasis, Dalits, all people, they have a right to decent life, which includes healthcare and medicines. But to what extent this issue is still prevalent? Various studies suggest it's still very much prevalent in many parts. That is the reality.
Thank you.
More questions? I'm happy that students are coming up with questions. So there's an
Good
opportunity.
Hello, sir.
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, sir. So my name is Arjun. I'm from second year BA Economics, St. Thomas College.
Okay.
So my question was that recently Scotland became the first country, I mean, as in the sense to make period products free for all. And the main reason they are stating the fact that, it is to end the period poverty in the country, because they're saying that even if pandemics will come and go, at the end of the day, this women, they need this really. So and even in India, if you look, so after the impact of this pandemic, really up to 15% of women, are unable to procure these basic medical needs, and including these sanitary pads. So don't you think it's a need of the hour, as in the government highly need to push it forward, this agenda, and, of implementing this as, I mean, like, this act or this thought. So what is your take on it?
See, when we talk about right to health in a broad sense, yes, as I said, it includes mental and physical well-being. Okay, so from that perspective, yes, even the distribution of sanitary napkins, it will also be part of right to health. But what we should remember is that all this requires financial resources, and all countries may not have the same level of financial resources. Okay, so India is a poor country, developing country. There's a lot of constraints, so we may have to prioritize. So the first priority may be to ensure essential medicines. So that may be the first priority. So depending on how situation improves, I think gradually we can also expand the scope of right to health. But theoretically speaking, yes, the distribution of napkins also a part of right to health. Am I clear?
Good.
Thank you, sir.
More questions? This is an opportunity for the students to raise questions, interact with Prabhuji. The good opportunity. And participants from other please come forward. We'll be happy to see you.
Hello, sir.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
This is actually not a question. This is just out of curiosity to know your opinion
Mm.
about the GST charged on the medicines. Like there's a 5% GST on insulin products, and which is really important in my opinion. So, what's your opinion? It's just out of curiosity, like whether there should be a GST charge on the medicines that is supplied in the market.
See, when we approach this issue from a rights perspective, a right to health perspective, and access to medicines, then definitely this tax should be withdrawn. Because as we saw, the cost on medicines is the largest chunk of healthcare expenditure, and many studies have shown that people are not taking treatment when they are ill because they have financial constraints. So that means a major responsible factor is cost of medicines. So from this perspective, so we can say with full conviction that the tax on medicines should be withdrawn.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Any more questions or comments? There are participants from other colleges as well, I think. There are participants from Vimala College, I think. Anybody who would like to raise a point or ask a question? And other colleges also. Dr. Madhu, are you there? Okay. So in case there are no questions, shall we think of winding up, Blessy ma'am?
Yes, sir. It's been mine.
Okay. So assuming that there are no more questions, we will slowly think of winding up. So I think it was a very useful presentation, and I think our students are only slowly getting used to raising questions and participating in discussions. Still, I'm very happy that many of you came up with very good questions, and I'm sure that as we organize more and more programs, you will get more opportunities, and you will participate more in such programs. So I think this year's Constitution Day celebration has become very special for us, and especially in this context of this COVID pandemic, we were able to choose a very suitable topic to discuss this year. Although this topic was always important, this became very important this year. So before thanking Reggie, I would like to tell all my students, uh, uh, Dr. Reggie has a website also, I think. Dr. ReggieKJoseph.com, I think, isn't it, Reggie?
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, if you visit that,
Educajoseph.com.
yeah, is it Dr. Reggie K. Joseph or ReggieKJoseph.com?
Just my name, Rajika Joseph.
ReggieKJoseph.com. So, if you can visit his website, I hope it is updated. Uh, you can see his works, the pieces which he writes, his articles, his books, etc. So that will be interesting. So those who are planning for higher studies and those who are doing your MA program now, PG scholars, and especially those who are working in the area of, say, pharma industry or WTO, international trade, that will be very useful for you. And I should tell you that Dr. Reggie is a very down-to-earth person and unassuming person. You can access him also, approach him also for guidance and help. I'm telling you this without asking him. I'm sure he will be always, because I know him. He's always helpful. So take advantage. This is now,
The mic is muted, Emmanuel.
okay. I think somebody muted me. So I think this is how, as students, budding researchers, we build up connections and develop interest in a topic and build up like that. So this is a wonderful beginning for many of us. So let us take it forward. And shall we conclude, Blessy ma'am?
Emmanuel,
Yes.
thank you, Emmanuel and Blessy. And one thing, and if any student or anybody wants to discuss with me, so you can share my email or phone number, no problem.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you very much. So I think with the permission of the principal, Professor K.L. Joy, and head of the department, Blessy ma'am, I will wind up the program. So once again, on behalf of all the participants and St. Thomas community, I extend our heartfelt gratitude to Dr. Reggie. And I would also like to thank all the participants for joining us. And once again, thanking all of you, we will wind up this program. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.